how many people are having not just awakenings, but Kundalini awakenings? So Kai, why don't you do your introduction to what that actually means, Kundalini awakenings?
Okay. Well, my Kundalini awakened happened when I was 27. I'm 52 now. So I don't think it was as popular of a theme then, but now, since everything's changing so rapidly on the earth, it seems that people are just having spontaneous awakenings. Go ahead.
No, but what does it mean though? I mean, we have to define for people who don't know what this actually means to have a Kundalini. Well, I can define, but you can define it because you've had it. I've had some, but how do you define what happened to you? Like, how do you describe it, I guess is a better way.
Okay, well, I can tell what happened to me, but I can also describe my just basic understanding of the science of it. So we all have the dormant Kundalini energy, and it resides at the base of the spine. That's what the yogis say, that it resides in a 3.5 coil snake at the base of the spine. It's like the image of a snake is the image of the Kundalini. And in most people, most of humanity, it lies dormant. So the snake's head is down and it's asleep. And once the Kundalini is awakened, the snake wakes up, or the Kundalini, or the Shakti, or the Divine Mother, or the that aspect of life that is alive, not the silent witness state, but the active state. And once that Kundalini is awakened, she works through our entire body on all levels of consciousness to purify us, to ultimately bring us to oneness, to divine unity, to enlightenment, to pure consciousness. Uh-oh, I lost you.
No, I was just muted myself because of the dog barking back here. But just so people get it, because it's sort of a magical thing in a way. I mean, most people walk around their whole lives and never know such a thing exists. But there is a dormant energy in everyone.
Yes.
In the sacrum area, basically, and right. I mean, it's
so when the human body is formed, the Kundalini forms the human body, but then it rests at the base of the spine and goes to sleep. That's
when you say Kundalini, you mean the energy of life. Is that what you're saying, sort of?
I see it as the energy of life, God's grace. Every religion would have a different name for it. Holy Spirit.
Well, it's not just the Holy Spirit. Maybe it is when people have those cathartic, holy rolling experience. That's Kundalini. Or when the preacher hits you and they're hitting you with Shakti pot or Kundalini and people fall down. But what's happening now, and I think it's important we do this program, is that more and more people are having this awakening. So and I've had it over the last couple of, it's like this, like you described, energy coming up your spine, and then you go through Kriyas, you go through strange body movements. There's well, it's mostly like a kind of involuntary, like jerking almost that happens. I mean, you could see this in Orthodox Jewish ceremonies where it's called Davening, and it's like the energy is moving them like this, coming up through the chakras. That's how I
didn't know that.
Yes, that's Kundalini as I see it. I mean, there's many different expressions, but what's happening now, because the earth is accelerating, because human frequency is accelerating, more and more people are having this dramatic, spontaneous awakening, right?
Yes, and I'm sure you're seeing a lot of it because you're so involved with the spiritual world, but I also, people call me, write me emails, have sessions with me that are having these spontaneous awakenings, or they find my videos. And some things that seem so elementary to me about the Kundalini, I realize that people really just don't have a clue. Like, one person asked me, he was moving, like he was getting these kind of movements, which are, anything having to do with the spine is such a basic Kundalini movement, that forward back movement, or that round movement, or where the head goes forward and back. And it can be really dramatic too. Like Baba said, when his head would go back, it would be like he could see down his back, down his spine, his head would pop back that far.
Who is Baba when you said Baba?
Baba Muktananda
Oh,
was one of the major Kundalini Shaktipat gurus who brought the Kundalini to the West. So he was about,
well, I think it was here before he brought it. I mean, there's been
well,
Kundalini.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying there. I think people have been having Kundalinis east and west. Maybe they didn't call it that. They
Right.
called it, like you said, the revelation of the Holy Spirit, or I don't know, a download or a revelation or something. But you're saying Muktananda brought it here as a kind of expression. Is that what you're saying? I didn't know Muktananda brought it here. You're probably right. And in
In the yogic tradition, he and Dion Yogi were two of the first to really popularize the Shaktipat, because until that point, it was very secretive and the gurus would only give it to one or two students.
right.
It wasn't supposed to be just given widely, but both of them strongly got the message to share it.
But a lot of people now are having Kundalini, well, on their own, like just like, actually, I had it after I spent a night in a tent with a woman who was going through these, like Kundalini, and it's sort of contagious in a way.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you actually had a teacher who initiated you. Tell us how that happened for you.
Well, I mean, do you want the whole story? I had been I had been taking the Yogi Bhajan style of Kundalini yoga, and I was really involved in that. And I had a few experiences doing that kind of yoga, like something with my third eye and some other things. And then I moved from Los Angeles to Nashville, and I was looking for a Kundalini class, like Yogi Bhajan Kundalini, and I couldn't find one, but I found somebody who was talking about Kundalini. So I went there, and that ended up being my Shaktipat guru in the ashram, and that's where my awakening happened with
What
him.
was his name? If you don't have to tell, okay, you don't have to tell us. That's okay.
The only reason I'm not saying it is because I don't know if he would want me to.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm respecting his.
No, I get. But did he do something to you, or did you do the practice of getting it?
No, he did it. In that tradition, it's very much grace from the guru.
So what did he actually do?
Well, he gives Shaktipat similar to the way I do, but where
describe that. Describe that. People don't know what that is. Describe what that is.
So, and I can tell my first experience of it, I had no idea what I was walking into. So I walked into this room, and it was very Indian, very Hindu. And there was a big statue of the Divine Mother. And there was a picture of him on the shrine, which I have to say really freaked me out at first. I didn't like this idea of a guru and a picture of someone, but I went with it. And I thought we were going to do yoga, but I sat and we just really sat and meditated. And there were people around me having Kriyas. So there were people kind of doing this. There was somebody speaking in another language, which would be comparable to speaking in tongues in the Christian tradition. And I didn't have a clue what was going on, but I knew it felt good. So he walked around to each person, and he had a feather stick, like I have a feather stick. And it was
sometimes they use a peacock stick, right?
Yeah, that's exactly, I have that too. So he would hit people with the peacock stick, and he would touch your third eye. That's one of the main things he did, was touch your third eye. Sometimes he would blow in your mouth. Sometimes he would kind of pat you on the back and kind of swipe his hand up your back. But all of this is awakening the Kundalini within you.
And then what happened to you when that happened? What happened to your
body?
The
first time, nothing happened. Nothing that I was aware of happened. But as they say, grace never goes unnoticed. So you might get Shaktipat and not notice it for days, weeks, years, or life until your next lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I left for 3 months because I was a little freaked out by the whole process. But when I went back 3 months later, I never left. I moved in, and he was with me 24/7 because there weren't a lot of other people at the ashram at the time. I got really lucky, so I got all of his energy for a good few months. And when I
want to know what you felt in your body.
So the first thing I actually noticed was this finger, my ring finger on my left hand, just started doing this. That's the first involuntary Kriya that I had. And I just noticed because I wasn't doing it. I was just watching it happen. And then I don't remember all the sequence of events, but eventually, you know, my spine was moving, my head would go back and forward pretty violently. Breathing, spontaneous breathing would happen. And it got to the point where the mother, the divine mother in the form of Kali, would come into my body, as well as many other people that were there. And
how did you know it was Kali coming into your body?
Because she would scream, "I am Kali." I lost you, Alan. Your sound.
It would come out of your mouth. It would come out of your mouth. I am Kali. And you weren't saying that. Something was.
No, it's very interesting process where you're completely aware. It's not like when a channel goes to sleep and the channel comes through. You're completely aware of what's going on. And until you've experienced, it's very hard to explain that something's happening in your body, but you are not doing it. You're just watching it happen and you're witnessing it happening. So then Hanuman would come through. Hanuman's the monkey god. So he would do the ooh, ooh, ah, ah, and kind of jump around the room.
And I guess that also happens in African religions. The what's that that major African religion where Santeria, maybe I think it's called, where the different gods come through and dance. In some traditions in Africa, they dance through the person, or they speak, or they perform ceremony in there through that person. So it's a universal. It's a kind of universal human experience that hasn't been really talked about in the West. So, but
yeah, I know, except in our small circles.
But that's changing. But you have to say, and I think I could say that you were absolutely changed by the experience.
Oh, yes, you are not the same person. And like I said, that happened when I was 27. So it just keeps transforming me. You know, that it seems like it just keeps going in deeper and deeper levels of my being. So
did you have that before I met you, whenever that was?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Oh, I wish I knew that when I met you.
I probably met you when I was 30, 31.
I think I met you in the 90s. Was that 95 maybe, or 9? I think.
Yes. I think I met Danny when I was 30, and
we're talking about Danny Castro.
Yes,
where we met, through a teacher named Danny Castro. Who's probably had he's definitely had an awakening, and I think awakenings are connected to Kundalini, so he's definitely had something happen to him, right?
Yes, Danny doesn't talk about the Kundalini, so it's a different.
But it's all Kundalini in a way, all these spiritual experiences, all these like higher levels of consciousness. Don't you think it all comes through the Kundalini?
That's my opinion, yes.
Yes.
That's what I happen to believe, because I believe that the Kundalini is God's grace, and God's grace is in everyone and everything.
All right. I'm not sure about God's grace, but I know there's energy, right? I mean, I don't know how to define God's grace. I'm being very practical.
Yes.
People say that word, but I don't know what that means to someone else. God's grace. I mean, grace, I guess, is what you're talking. The grace means that you may want Kundalini, but it's not in a way up to you to get it. It is grace.
It doesn't seem to be up to the person, because some people really, 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 really want it and nothing's happening, and other people aren't particularly interested, and all of a sudden they're in the midst of it.
And they have no idea. Like our friend Val, just went to a little workshop, although the guy was doing Kundalini, and boom, she had a huge awakening.
I love her story.
Yeah, she has a great story. We'll have to get her on the show. And then my other friend just read a book, was reading I Am the Word, Paul Selig, and she started to have Kriyas and body, and that totally changed her life. So I know people are watching this, and we want to hear your story, because if you share your story, then other people can feel free to share theirs. Actually, there's a woman I know in New York. She's been dealing with her Kundalini for 25 years, like active. It was out of control for 25 years.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
she has an incredible story if she'd tell us that. I mean, she's told me, but there's so many stories. This woman I know from Maine just told me, like, all of a sudden she just had this spontaneous energy up her spine. So
Yes, and I think what's important is to really talk about the basics, because I had a session with someone recently. So as people find me through my YouTube channel, because a lot of my YouTube videos are about the Kundalini. And he was saying Om Namah Shivaya, and he had a spontaneous awakening. So people start giving him all kinds of information, right? So then people have this coming in and this coming in, and they don't know what to listen to, and they don't know what to believe, and they don't know what to do, and they know they can't function in the world. So he was asking me, should I meditate? I haven't been meditating because every time I meditate, my body does this crazy thing. And what I figured out was he thought that he should be meditating still. And because he couldn't meditate still, he shouldn't be meditating. And I said, no, that's the whole point of the Kundalini. You have to let her completely take over your body, because she is the God force energy. She knows exactly what you need, and she will do what needs to be done. So that's,
I just want to say I have a little problem calling her she. I mean, it's fine that you do, but I don't quite understand the personification. For me, it's not a separate entity. It might be an entity that is the life force that comes through people's bodies. But for me, it might be the same. It's a deep, resonant energy in all of us, and that might be what you're saying, a she. I just feel it's sort of, I mean,
no, that's good to clarify, because I do believe that as well. It's just that because of the tradition I come from, it's personified as the Shakti, or the Divine Mother. But no, absolutely.
No, it might actually be the entity that we're all really, in a sense, a part of, that is coming through us, the divine feminine force that's actually moving through our body. And it's moving through the body anyway, but this is in an amplified way. So it might actually be what you're saying. I don't know. I'm just.
No, I believe you're right. And I think it's good to put it in terminology that is more well-rounded. I think that's a good idea, because it is. And I'm speaking more from a traditional basis of the yogic perspective.
Well, I got a chat on my live YouTube. This guy, I think it's a guy, Gerardo, says, I'm currently going through a Kundalini crisis. Any advice? It's in my, if you look on my YouTube, you have to shut off your sound. If you look on my YouTube, but I'm just telling you what the live chat on my YouTube is saying. Anyway, do you have any advice for this guy, Gerardo?
Can I go in for a moment and just
sure. Oh, sure.
So when I surrender to the energy, when I surrender the Kundalini energy, which is the God force energy, which is the life force energy, the energy comes through me like this at this point. Anything stabilizing at this point feels good. Watching my videos on my YouTube channel, a lot of people find a lot of stabilization through those videos, because I am working with generations of Shaktipat masters. Anytime that you connect in with that energy of what I'm presenting, you're connecting in with that stabilization energy. So I think
what is your YouTube channel? I'll put it on my thing right here, my chat.
Kai Shanti. I think it's Kai Shanti, Angel of Light, channeling God's love.
Okay. Shanti, Angel of Light. I guess that says it all, right? Channeling
God's love.
God's love. But
you have a lot of. Sorry.
No, I'm just wondering if you have any advice for this person now.
Yeah, stabilization is what I'm feeling. And to find stabilization, I feel like he needs to connect in with an energy. Now, the person I worked with last week, his guru presented himself. And so I was very much being called to just connect him with his guru. And so that he could connect in with that energy. But without really personally working with someone, I'm not exactly, but the word stabilization is coming through really strong. So
would that mean ground? I take that to mean grounding. I mean, and that is one thing. If you're really having chaotic energies, sit on the earth, ground into the earth. That's what I would say for.
but the stabilization I'm getting is stabilization through a lineage, through someone who's already awakened, through, do you know what I mean? Like I have gurus standing behind me that kind of work through me, and through connecting in with that energy, it stabilizes the energy.
Mm-hmm. So he should just tune into you and have a personal session with you, maybe.
Doesn't even have to. I would say watch some of the videos, stabilize with that energy and see what happens and see what comes to him, because I'm feeling a lot in the base. Mm-hmm. A lot happening in the base, and yet, and it's just feeling like it needs to be grounded but stabilized in, I don't want to say tradition, because it's not tradition as much as it is this kind of, it's almost like, think of the higher light beings that are helping us. They're all helping us to go through this process. And if he can ground in with those higher energies that are helping us, then he'll be able to go through the process more smoothly.
All right, but good. Like the higher light beings that are behind me now on my screen. Do you see?
Yes, I love those flickering.
They're flickering around. When you said that, they sort of just, I mean, it's a reflection, but they sort of just appeared there in their form. But
I think it's really important to always remember that, as scary as it could seem in the moment, we are never alone in this process. If this process is happening to us, there are higher light beings working with us. We are never alone in it.
Right, and it's happening because we're being activated to a higher frequency. It's not just happening because it's weird or you're going crazy. It's happening because, in my opinion, you've been called upon to be at service to the planet's awakening, and that's Absolutely. Why it's happening. It's not, when Kundalini happens, it happens for a much bigger reason than just personal evolution, I feel.
Absolutely. And every time I work with somebody, I fully get that now you're awakening to your purpose. Now it's time to share a message. Now it's time to be in the light.
Right.
And you agreed to do this before you came here. So it's a remembrance too.
And it's all at the right timing. So it's like, but I think there's an acceleration. And I think that's the reason we're doing this program now. It's because some people actually don't know where to turn to, and they don't know what's happening to them. It's just like, there's one girl, and we should get her on the show, where just strange things started happening. I forgot how she even got activated, but she'd have these past like recalls. She'd have these, weird movements of her hand, like you said, and didn't have any idea what was happening to her until, well, it wasn't just me.
That would be scary. That would be really scary. Like if I think about everything I went through, I just called my guru or I talked to my guru and I was like, okay, this is normal.
But I like to just get away from the guru tradition, because I think, I mean, yes, it helped you, but I think we can help each other now.
Absolutely.
I mean, gurus, I don't know if you want to talk about your thing, but you had to leave that guy, because even though he activated you, that doesn't mean he's clear. It means he can transfer the energy, but from what you said to me, he still has his own stuff to work through, and you had to get away from that. There's still ego there, is what I'm saying.
What happened with me was that my Kundalini started working in a way very different from what he was teaching. And I tried to hide that. I tried to change that for years and years. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And I really, really wanted him to accept me. And I really, really wanted him to accept the way the Kundalini was working. Mm-hmm. just wasn't. And that's
Yeah.
the traditional thing. It's, I just can't do the tradition thing.
Well, I think once it's activated, you sort of have to become your own teacher. Yes, it's great to ask for help, but from what you were saying, it was also like he wanted to sort of control you, from what you told me, and make it this way. And I mean, is that true?
Well, it was more about that he saw that things should be a certain way because of the path that he's on.
Right, but
so if he wanted me to have an expression that looked a certain way, and if my expression didn't look a certain way, then yes, he wanted me to change it.
Well, that's the problem with traditions and religions and even lineages, because we're coming into a new time where the lineages don't have the same power, this is just my opinion. And we're sort of now raising each other up by our own bootstraps. The lineages have gotten us here, but we need to go further.
And that's why when I say, like, I have this lineage behind me, but it's more like there are still Shaktipat gurus that are working with me astrally, but they've left their bodies.
Yeah, and they're beyond tradition too.
They're beyond tradition now. So when they come to me now, it's not in a tradition sense. It's just working with me.
Right.
But I still feel like if someone's working with me, I still feel like that person is getting the energy. Then I say lineage, but I mean this kind of light being lineage. That's
right, because Kundalini, in a sense, is beyond lineage. It is the superhuman experience. It is probably a foundation of religion, but it's beyond religion. You know, I'm sure people like Jesus and Buddha, Mohammed, all these great teachers. Who was that famous nun in Spain that you know, was quite a clear being? What was her name? Avila, Teresa of Avila. Do you know her?
No.
That is a Kundalini awakened being, transcending religion, and John of the Cross there in Spain. These people had higher visions, and they transcended their religion. They went beyond that. So it's like, what?
Well, speaking of that, this is very funny. I doubt you read my latest blog post, but I have Nityananda, who's this guru here.
Yeah, I know Nityananda. I like him. He's a good guy.
Who only comes to me very rarely. Baba comes to me more often than Nityananda does.
Baba Muktananda.
But I don't relate.
Babaji in the other corner. Babaji.
No. But I don't relate my lineage with Baba's earthly lineage. I just relate myself to Baba as how he works with me now astrally. And Nityananda as well. Anyway, he came to me and he whispered the word prostitute in my ear.
Okay, whatever.
Which, and then my blog post explains.
What does it explain? Was he calling you? I want to see that guy. Was he calling you something? Kidding.
It was really sweet when he said it. Like, he's only come to me with really high initiations. He barely says a word. Baba does all the talking. Nityananda never talks. He barely says a word to me. And when he does, it's powerful. And he said one word. That's all he said to me. He whispered, prostitute, right?
What does that mean to you?
Well, I came out of that and I was like, so happy that he came. But then I remembered what he had said and I was like, what? I don't want to be I've been very promiscuous in my life. And I feel like I've awakened a lot of people's Shakti that way. And I was at first just like, what is he telling me? Am I supposed to be doing this, awakening people's Shakti and all this? But I meditated on it and I got that, no, the word prostitute has been very much misconstrued. And the meaning that I was given for prostitute was someone who can bring another being into a high state of God union through sexual love, sexual unity. And it has nothing to do with being with a lot of people. It has nothing to do with money exchange or anything like that.
Well, in the Hindu traditions, they were called Bhairavi Matas, which transmitted I think Ramakrishna was part of that initially. You know, there was,
Oh,
I
okay.
think, I don't want to spread rumors, but I think he was initiated by Bharavi Mata, and Kaleshwar was talking about that. If you ever met Kaleshwar, did you ever meet Kaleshwar? He
No.
came from a Kali Shakti tradition. I just want to read another comment by Ride the Holocaust. You ground by being barefoot on the earth while staring directly into the rising or setting sun. That is a good way to ground. That actually feel the universal current moving through your body. When you do that, you really feel, especially as you watch the sun as it kind of disappears over the horizon, and you breathe it in just as it's setting. That kind of grounds you and stays with you as kind of grounding cosmic energy. So
Yeah.
so when do you want, we should do this every week, because do you want to?
I'd love to. I would love to do
I
it.
think Sunday would be a better day for me. Could we do it next Sunday?
No.
Well, you're busy on Sundays.
Yes.
All right, let's do it Mondays, maybe. Saturdays I'm a little busy, but
yeah, or Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday. Does Tuesday work?
Tuesday, yeah, let's do it Tuesday.
And then we'll just start inviting guests on, because I think we have a lot of people that we can invite on to share their stories.
Absolutely, yes.
What about, can I hear your story, Alan, of your awakening?
Well, I guess it's a couple of different parts. Like I said, I was at a rainbow gathering, actually, and this woman I was sort of connecting with was going through these gyrations. I forgot how she got activated. Maybe it was like Amma got her activated or something like that. Anyway, we were just hanging out for an evening, and I started to feel that same energy going through my body, you know, and it felt great. I mean, it was beyond sex or anything like that. It was the flow of energy just being activated. It sort of comes from the spine and up. It kind of raises up. So that was the first time I experienced that. And then I've seen some other teachers who, like Abdi would just touch people. That's how Val got activated. And I would feel that same energy. I also did a network chiropractic session.
Oh, I used to do those too. Yes.
And that brought on that, what they call it, the wave. And that's Kundalini. So then when I meet people and they say they've had the Kundalini, I could sort of almost see it in them. They sort of emanate a kind of a light frequency, and I can actually pull that in to my body when they're in that flow state. So it's like even if I'm looking at them on video or something, I feel the activation. But you know, it's also can be transmitted as Shakti pod if I'm feeling that, and I could give that to somebody who's receptive. It doesn't always work. So like the Kundalini tradition is like giving and receiving, but it sort of wasn't that extreme in me, but I can sense it. And I think it did open me up to like maybe ETs, let's call them that, or higher frequencies, or other levels of awareness. And I think more people have it than they realize. They just sort of awaken. But, you know, I think for some people, if they don't know what's happening, it could come out as hysteria.
Absolutely.
I think it actually, that's what happened to my mother. She couldn't. I
Oh,
think
wow.
she channeled that energy through a kind of hyperness that had no focus. So it came out as hystericalness.
And did she believe that?
No, well,
Oh,
no,
okay.
she just was reacting dramatically to you know, what was going through, but kind of channeling it as an emotional drama. That's what I would say. I also want to say, so that's sort of my story. It It was very nice. I still get it. I still feel it. It's still in a way always with me. It's
Because
with me.
I've seen you like on the call that we did with the women.
Yes.
You were channeling language.
Yes.
And you were having mudras. Yes.
Yes. If I let it go, it will come through. Like if you start channeling now, it will activate me probably a little bit, you know. So yeah, I'd let it come through. Yes, absolutely. Because why stop it, right? You know.
Right, exactly. I don't even care anymore. When I do my videos, I sometimes the topics are sensitive and I don't even care. I just surrender. I just say, whatever. I'm getting out of this completely. You just do whatever you want. And
well, I also want to address some things here. This guy is usually on a lot of my live chats. Star Brother says, my pineal is a mess. Yeah, I could tell that from some of his posts. What would you say to kind of, you know, get the light balance back? Because I do think the pineal gland is the light center in the middle of our brain. So that's my opinion. So what would you suggest to someone who says their pineal gland is a mess?
what's his name?
His name is Star Brother.
Shavakorono sarete kanana harete kaliana no 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 gorobasava korono sirata. Yeah, he has a block between the crown and the pineal that I'm seeing.
Well, what can he do for it?
Yeah, hold on. Shavakorono sirata karana arete shatakuru no koro. He needs to pray. He needs to surrender, but pray. He needs to pray. He needs to connect in with the higher energies, with the God energy, with the source energy. He just needs to pray. I'm just getting this like pray, pray, pray. God, open me up, source, whatever you want to call it, light, beings, divine essence. Open me up, open me up, open me up, open. You feel it. You can feel it right now. Sit in it right now. You need to pray. You need to connect in with these beings that are here to help you. God is always, always, always helping you. You need to ask, you need to pray, you need to give yourself fully to that energy of grace and just allow it to work with you. There's a little pain in that area, and I can't say specifically what that's about, but you're holding some pain in that area.
Well, if you're listening, Star Brother, my crown can be open, but maybe there's a block. That's right. Well, if you, like you said, if you pray, so if you say, what prayer would this person say? What would they?
Just God, open me up, God, or whatever word you want to use for God. You don't have to use the
I
word.
would say that, and also surrender your ideas and your opinions and just surrender. It's like that block is affecting your personality and making you judgmental, I have to say, and restricted, and just let all those opinions go, all that personality stuff, and just feel the divine flow coming through you, and that will clear the block. It really will.
That's what needs to happen. That needs to, first you need to open it up this way from you. And that's where the prayer comes in, opening it up, opening it up, opening it up. And then once you've opened up by surrendering and by praying and by being available, then it can just flow through you.
Yeah, that's good, Kai. And when Kai makes those language sounds, that is actually energetics moving in to your body that is kind of shifting the inner energies, you know?
Yeah, it's actually working with him now. Like I can see it working with that area now.
Yeah, it does feel like something's clearing with him, doesn't it?
It's not cleared, but it's working. It's working. But
clearing.
it definitely needs his initiative. I'm really getting that. It needs his prayer, his initiative.
Yeah. I'm just saying, pray. Pray, Star Brother, pray. Yeah, don't eat any solid food, only light foods like leafy greens, that will help. Yeah, I would do a water fast. I've just been doing a bit of a water fast, and it feels really, when the weather gets too hot, I don't feel like eating, and it's just, I feel really much clearer now. Actually, I feel clearer since we've started this conversation. So thank you for
I
that.
would always listen to the body though with the fasting and the energy, because you can accumulate too much heat if you're not taking in
Right.
calorie
No, I
cues.
do. I don't. I just do it as I feel, but I
Right.
needed to just like cleanse out. I felt so.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's continue. I mean, there's a lot of good comments here. Do you get comments on your channel? We're streaming on Kai's channel as well. What is your
Yeah,
channel?
I have Rod Bauer, who's my ex-husband, sent a heart.
It's
So
nice,
that's nice.
I guess. But yeah, let's try for Tuesdays. Let's see, next Tuesday. Well, we could do the 4th. You want to do the 4th?
Can't do this Tuesday. I could do the
All right,
following.
we'll do the 11th then, okay?
Okay, perfect. August 11th. What time? What time do you want to do?
I think in the afternoon, although there's probably more people watching now, but we can do like maybe 3 or 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So people can tune into this channel for that. I also have a great interview coming up on, is it Monday? I think Monday with an incredible yogi who bends her body in all these different positions, and she says it's not about the body, it's about the mind.
Mm, that makes
Oh, and tonight I'm doing a broadcast. I'm not in it, but I'm broadcasting on this channel the Saturday night live of the Global Tribe, that is featuring the Bhakti Fest singers Shiva Ray, Jayutal, those people.
Oh,
And
nice.
then on 8/8, I'm doing 2 programs. I'm doing 2 Lion Gate programs, one on this channel, well, I think they'll both be on this channel, but one in the afternoon where I'm doing like Val and some other people, and then the Saturday Night Live at 9 p.m. So
Awesome.
I have a whole week of and other people. Doc Wallet. I mean, I love to do a show every day. I think I've done 3 shows today.
And I'll put a link to Alan's channel underneath this video on my channel, so you can connect in with his. He has lots of great stuff on New
I
Reality.
just want to ask you one more question before we go. So a lot of this is happening. This is happening to a lot of people. Would you say there's a beginning sign of it? I mean, like, how do you, I mean, some people, yeah, it's clear their body's shaking and their teeth are chattering, but if it's not happening that way, is there any other clue that a Kundalini might be on its way? It's like a hurricane, might be on its way.
Yeah, that's interesting because they're so different. But let me see. Everyone's awakening right now on some level. Everyone's awakening right now on some level. You can't really be on this earth right now and not be awakening on some level. So something's coming in for everyone right now. And it might be very subtle, and it might be, like you said, very extreme, but we don't want to call it extreme. We want to call it very expansive. Just pay attention. Really, the best thing to do is pay attention. Pay attention to your body, pay attention to your mind, pay attention to your energy. And if anyone decides to just sit and look within and see what's happening with them, they'll start to see subtle changes going on.
I think the whole virus thing was a doorway to that.
Oh, for me, it was for sure.
Right.
A new level for me.
It means, Corona is crowned, so their crowns are going activated, or
Oh, that's
going,
so nice.
yeah.
I love that.
Well, thank you for your time.
Did you want to do a little dual activation?
Yeah, what does that mean?
That means you and I could do it together.
What are we doing?
Closing our eyes and seeing what comes through.
Okay, let's do.
Just for a minute.
Let's do it.
For the benefit of who is ever watching. Shavakurno Sirata Kalamoto. Mero Corona Sirata Karamasivaya. There we go. Shata Karana Siva Korono Toroko. Shanda Arete. So for the general group, let's just focus on allowing the crown chakra to open and opening up to these higher energies of grace that are really wanting to come in now and really wanting to be with us. Shava Korono Koro Sansariyato Koro Shampa Arete Karana Arata Karuto. Really takes very little effort on our part. All we need to do is open up, be willing, and want the energy to happen.
Allow.
Mata Korono Surete Korono To Koroto Rete Karana Aliyata Tanda Arete Shava Korono Ko.
We also want to get your friend Tim on the show, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Can you just talk a little bit about what happened to Tim?
I can't tell Tim's, you know, I have
had an awakening, yes.
I have an interview with Tim on my channel. Interview with Tim Rusto. If you want to look it up, I'll make a link on here too. He's got a fascinating story. He was on Wall Street.
Okay.
And very much in that world. And then he started eating raw food, and then he started going to yoga classes, and then one thing led to another, and mushrooms and all these things happened. And then so I think he had his initial awakening on mushrooms, if I'm correct. And then he met gurus. Now he has a beautiful situation in Bali. He's building the most gorgeous ashram in Bali.
We'll have to go visit him, huh?
I know. So yes, I'm excited to have him.
Well, that brings up a good point. There's lots of ways to activate your Kundalini. It could be with mushrooms. It could be ayahuasca. It could be a UFO sighting. It could be a near-death experience. There's no one way, but it is a shift out of this reality, whatever that is. Some people just have it. We'll have it during sex, actually, you know. That's
absolutely. And I think that's what's starting to come to me with that whole prostitute thing. Like there's a whole other aspect that I've been neglecting to look at because of the very strict yogic tradition. Like you just don't look in that direction, you know.
Start looking.
What?
I said, start looking.
Well, since that message from my beloved Nityananda, I think I'll start looking.
When was that?
Last week.
Oh, just recently.
Oh, it's very recent. Yes.
Oh, you get messages all the time, though.
No, not from him. That's what I'm saying. He comes so rarely that when he comes, I'm just like, oh. And then, but he came and said that. So it took me a little while to adjust. Oh, and my whole point of telling you that was the tradition thing versus these gurus that are working with me now astrally. Right. I don't know in a normal tradition if a Nityananda would have said prostitute to me, you know.
Nityananda, though, is someone beyond the tradition, and who knows, you know.
Yeah, that's true. He was definitely known to be.
Most of the awakened beings are beyond their tradition, even in the like Orthodox Hasidic tradition, like Nachmanides. I think someone like that is, you know, because there's awakenings in every religion, because they transcend that. You know, Jesus obviously had an awakening. That's what the Shroud of Turin is. That's the Kundalini. You can actually see it coming right through, bringing the body, this is my theory about the Shroud, bringing the body back to life. With the help of Mary Magdalene, I would say. So that's that Isis, Osiris, Kundalini tradition.
That's what I was talking about in my post, Mary Magdalene, because it was the feast day of Mary Magdalene that this all came.
22nd, yeah. Well, thanks. I have
Thanks,
to
Alan.
Thank you, and good work, and keep that energy flowing.
Yes, we will. And Yeah. Okay. So
Fun.
Tuesday, the 11th at 4, 3.
What's that?
Tuesday,
Oh,
the
4.
11th at 3
I
o'clock.
think so. I think that's a good, I
Okay.
think that will work. Yeah, maybe, I'll call you if it's later, but I've had a bunch of people watching already. So, and then I'll also have this woman, Katrina Michelle, on who does this. She is part of a group of spiritual awakening, like the emergence, spiritual emergence, like people who've had these, which is usually Kundalini, and they don't have any place to turn. So she's part of a group called Spiritual Emergence. So,
Oh, great. You have lots of keep us busy for a year.
yes, we'll be busy. Okay,
Okay.
I'll talk to you. Call me.
Okay. Love you.
Okay.
Bye. Bye, everybody.